what's up, you guys? This is Angelica, and we are back for another episode of the Next One Up podcast. Today's guest is my cousin, Sakellie Daniels. How are you doing today?
I am great. Happy to be a part of your podcast today.
Thank
Excited, looking forward to it.
Thank you. Before we were getting on, we were talking about you being a new mom and all your adjustments and everything. So, how has that been going?
It's like one of those eggs you get, the surprise eggs. You crack it open, you don't know what you're gonna get, but you're excited because you know you're gonna get something good.
Exactly.
You know, all the children like to get that surprise egg.
Right.
But it's been a nice journey so far. Gonna make an appearance. She does a lot of Zoom appearances because that's what work consists of. Zoom,
right.
Remote work. So
People
are getting to know the Nyla face.
Yeah, she is zoomed in on the camera, like she's all for it. She is connected. She's like, okay, I'm used to seeing faces.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. When did you start your sports journey, and what sports did you play?
Ooh, I played organized sports for as long as I can remember. I think what you could start playing like Dixie League and T-ball and stuff at like 5. So growing up, I played softball and I played basketball with rec. And then when I got to organized school sports, I played volleyball, basketball, and ran track. Middle school, I played softball as well since we didn't have track. So,
did you play softball in high school?
No, I wasn't able to play in high school because I did track.
Okay, so. That's what I was thinking. That's why I was like, I don't remember you playing softball. Now, what inspired you to start playing sports?
It was just something I did. Growing up, I grew up in between 2 boys. I'm from a neighborhood that was full of boys. And, back in our day, we stayed outside and played and, did everything under the sun. So basketball and football was 2 of the sports that we did in the neighborhood. And I think it kind of just took it serious. And it became a sport that I love.
Yeah. I remember us playing with the basketball go on a light pole in the dirt. In the dirt. Yeah. Memories. Who were your sports influencers? Who inspired you to play?
Well, I remember 7th grade. Mr. Farrell was one of my teachers. He asked us about our future or something like that. And I remember thinking, I want to be a professional women's basketball player. And not long after that, the WNBA actually started. So I wasn't really familiar with the Women League before the WNBA. I knew somewhat about college, of course, from being recruited and watching the famous Carolina battle between UNC and State. So I'll probably say Cynthia Cooper. I loved her. Cheryl Swoops. Loved her. I remember getting a pair of the Cheryl Swoops Nikes and getting a pair of the Jordan, had the women's Jordan that came out, getting a pair of those. So I'll probably say those were 2 of the women professional that influenced me a lot. And then in college, I always thought I was going to go to Carolina. So I love Nikki Teasley and a lot of the girls from UNC I like.
So where now you played sports in middle school. Well, of course, organized sports, and then you started playing sports for like the school teams in middle school. Now let's talk about, you progressing from middle school to high school, how did you evolve as a player?
Well, like I said, I grew up in between 2 brothers and a lot of guys in the neighborhood. So I was usually one of the only girls and usually one of the youngest. So I always played at a higher level, even though I was younger. Um, and so I think that that definitely helped me evolve as far as playing organized sports in general. Like not only just my transition from middle school to high school, but playing organized. When I started playing organized basketball, I played up on the higher level with Parks and Rec. So that's pretty much all I knew. Uh, Playing organized was playing with older children. So from middle school to high school, that helped me to be able to go into high school and play on the varsity level immediately because I was used to that. That was my life.
So you got on varsity from as a ninth grader. So you never played on the freshman team.
No.
Did you start as a freshman in high school?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So nobody has said that on the podcast. Like nobody has said they came in as a freshman starting. So that just goes to show what kind of player you truly were and what kind of asset you were to your team because you the youngest thing out there. So what was that like being the youngest player on the team with all these older girls? Did you ever feel pressure? Did you always feel like the rookie? How was that?
It was cool. They were all like big sisters. Um, and then my our cousin was on the team as well. So of course she was like the big protector. Don't mess with my cousin. And so that was nice to have. But I was all about sports, so it didn't matter to me what the circumstances were. Who long as I could play the sport, I was good to go. So, like I said, being that I was used to playing with older children from the time I was 5 years old, 6, um, none of those things really fazed me. I didn't really look at it that way. To me, we was all on an even playing field when it came to sports, class, whatever the environment was, the atmosphere was. I always felt like I could hold my own.
Now, did you ever feel pressure from the coach, um, being the freshman, but playing, like being the only freshman on the team? Did you ever feel pressure from your coaches to show up in a way that I won't say that you may not have been ready for, or being a younger player, getting more experience in the game? Did you ever feel like singled out, or did you ever feel pressure when it came to performance?
I wouldn't say so. I think that if you talk to any of my teammates, they would all say she pushed us all equally hard. Um, and then we wanted to win, so it was no pressure. Everybody wanted to win. That's what we enjoy doing. Nobody wanted to lose, so we were all in the same boat. We all took it serious, and so um, I think that helped as far as like the camaraderie of the team
Mm-hmm.
and having a common goal, and being able to face those pressures of winning may have come from our coach.
Gotcha. So you played in high school, and then you transitioned to play in college, right? Now, what school did you play at? Of course I know, but what school did you play at?
I went to Charlotte, played at Charlotte for a
Charlotte.
year.
Woo woo.
Yeah.
If people don't know, I'm an alum.
So them picks up.
I know, right? Now, how did you enjoy playing in college?
I loved it. I tell people all the time if I had to make the choice over again, I definitely would make the same choice.
Wow. So, but you said you wanted to go to Carolina. So, what made you choose UNC Charlotte? I don't know if Carolina was even an option, but I'm imagining it was. But what made you choose UNC Charlotte over Carolina?
I think the best way to put it in layman terms and for anybody, just think about if you had the opportunity to do whatever you desire to do, and you wanted it for a long time, and you wanted that certain thing, but something else came along that was similar or better, and you realized that the thing you wanted, the other thing was actually better, like the similar thing was better. So it was kind of like that with UNC Charlotte. Like all my life, I thought Carolina, Carolina, Carolina. And then the recruiting process started, and recruiting is like being dated, courting, as far as the coaches to the player to the coach. And I had a good summer, and UNC Charlotte jumped onto my radar, and it was no looking back after that. I had a great relationship with the coaches, built a great relationship over phone conversations and writing each other and things like that. And it just kind of skyrocketed from there. Providence was probably a close runner-up to Charlotte, because the relationship I had built with the head coach there, who was Jim Jaber at the time. So that pretty much was what did it. It was more like relationship based.
Now, when did UNC Charlotte start to show interest in you?
I think it probably was about maybe my sophomore year.
Wow, so they started pretty. I mean, to me, pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to playing at UNC Charlotte, what were some of your biggest achievements while you were there? Because y'all was some bad girls.
We were. I definitely would say that we got the ball rolling in the right direction. I think Charlotte was already a good program. I think that we helped to make it. We were regular season champions my freshman year. Got a bid to the NCAA tournament. We ended up getting a Georgia draw. Went there and got our heads beat in, but hey, that doesn't take away the fact that we have a banner hanging that says NCAA tournament participants. So that was cool. And after that, it was no looking back. We went to the postseason every year, my 4 years there. 3 years, I was the MVP for my sophomore year to my senior year. My freshman year, I actually made the conference freshman team. So, I was a decorated player. But
Now, when it comes to transitioning from UNC Charlotte, what was your next step?
So like I said, 7th grade, I said I wanted to be a professional basketball player. So that dream didn't diminish. I was in the draft for the WNBA. I tore the labrum in my shoulder preseason of my senior year. And I was able to play with it torn. So we went on and played for Went having surgery until after the season. And so I had my surgery in May, right before graduation. And then after that, rehabbed and started playing overseas, which I played there 8 years.
And now, where did you travel to play?
Started out in Germany in 2006. I played there a season. From Germany, I went to Switzerland, played there 3 seasons. After Switzerland, I went to Finland for half a season. And got an angry baby on my hands. Yes, ma'am.
Don't worry, we can cut this part out.
Went to Lithuania for 2.5 seasons, and then had a stint back in Lithuania. And my last year, I played in Romania.
Now, what was your favorite place to play in?
Switzerland. You want to take?
Why Switzerland?
It was close to home a little bit.
Switzerland,
And it
close to
was
Frankfurt, North Carolina.
like as far as like the field, I played in the Yon, which is um, in between the capital, Geneva, and Lausanne, which is pretty big places. So it was, I don't know, it just felt like home.
Now, what was the most challenging place that you had to play?
Romania.
Why?
I didn't learn the language any there. It was a short period that I was there. And I don't know, it was just a different vibe. It was a different vibe in Lithuania.
A different vibe is in like the people or just like the place?
The people, the place, as far as the league. I don't know. Every league is different, but I just didn't really enjoy Finland as much. So, I mean, I'm sorry, Romania as much.
Okay. So you moved on from overseas. So how long did you play? You said you played 8 years? 8 years. So what made you decide, okay, I'm wrapping it up?
So when I left Romania, I was like, all right, look, either I'm gonna get a better deal or, I'm gonna go on and transition into the next part of my life. And so I didn't get a deal right after leaving Romania. So I came back home to Rayford and the opportunity came up to take a PE position over. And so I did that. And then that kind of started my next step into coaching.
Okay. So PE. So you started as a PE teacher. When you were at the school, what did you coach?
I coached basketball and then I was assistant coach for softball 1 year.
Okay. And I'm meaning the school as in high school, Hokecounty High School, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So how was that transitioning from like you've been a player since you probably could walk, and now you're having a transition after all that time to being a coach? How was that, and what was your expectation of it, and then how was it really?
It wasn't bad because being an athlete, people don't realize gives you so many opportunities to experience many other things. So with us in college, we had camps that we would run every summer. And that gave us the opportunity to kind of mentor and coach children. So I enjoyed that. It was fun for me. So I had that experience for 4 years. And then when I was overseas, I coached a younger team for one of their seasons, and that experience added on to my coaching. And then in the summer, I actually coached a program in Fayetteville with a boys and girls team. I coached the boys team over there for a year. So, I had my hat in the coaching ranks a little bit.
So did you know that coaching was something that you wanted to transition into?
No, not really. I've always enjoyed developing players, so that was one thing that I started doing in addition to my basketball camp was player development, like one-on-one sessions or small group sessions, and I did that for quite a while I was playing overseas and back and forth. And so coaching was just like it was naturally that next step that happened for me. Things fell in line, and that's what happened.
Now, how long did you coach at the high school?
I coached 2 seasons there.
2 seasons. And What was that experience like? You know, you were a player at one point in time, and then, you know, you ended up replacing one of the coaches that had been there for years, your coach. How was that experience?
It was nice. Coming in after Coach Hollingsworth Shaw um, it was not really a huge challenge, but it definitely was a challenge because she's a storied and decorated coach herself. I think she did a tremendous job with the girls program there. So coming in after her was like, all right, seeing what she did, knowing what she did by having that experience of being one of her players. Like I wanted to honor that, and so I wanted to do my best at the job for one of those reasons for sure.
Now, are there some things that you implemented that were a little different from her teaching style or coaching style?
Oh yeah, today's athletes and yesterday's athletes, meaning us, the young older generation, are two totally complete books for sure. But one thing I appreciate about her coaching style was being hard nosed. And I probably wasn't as hard nosed in the same sense as her, but I wanted to make sure that I held the girls accountable, which was something I think she did for us. So that was probably one of the things I knew I would stick to my guns with.
Now, what are some things that you dealt with as a player that your players deal with now?
Um, well, I don't think that there were many things that um, we had I had to deal with that were bad. I think all of them were just kind of like learning experiences for life, like learning how to organize time management. I don't think that those things will ever go away for a student athlete, because all our life, the majority of us are used to being an athlete. Yeah, a student too, but school is not year round. If you play whatever sport you play, you could play that sport all year in school or out. So um, I think that turning that switch when you get to college for sure, learning how to study, learning how to balance, a big exam coming up and then a game or a 10-page paper and an early practice. So life skills, I think, was probably one of the biggest things and biggest challenges that I had to learn. And I think that athletes today have to learn how to uh, improve with their life skills.
Now, you said that um, the differences between you and your athletes regarding like just like the time management and just basically like those world and life experiences. Are there any specific challenges that you've experienced during your sports journey um, that you can even just lend some advice on?
I'll probably say the biggest one is injury and recovery. Um, it Being injured can play a lot with your psyche, because when I say injured, that's serious, more serious than like jamming my finger or something like that. I say injury when I'm thinking like you're missing practice, you're possibly missing games or even a season, because you go to school. That's one of the biggest reasons you're there. You're there to play a sport. Yeah, you're there to get your degree as well, but uh, I was attracted to college to play ball first, and then the academics was, a plus as well, just being honest. Um, so when you're injured and you have to have that time away from playing your sport, whether it's, in season and you have games, or it's out of season and you're missing practice and preparation and stuff like that, mentally it can sometimes take you to a different place. And so You have to learn how to break down those barriers of feeling like you're alone or isolated, that you're secluded by yourself on an island, and you just figure out ways to keep yourself intertwined with the team, and to keep your mental shape healthy
Now,
when it comes to getting back.
what are some things that you did to make sure that you stayed on the right track and that your mental state continued to stay in a positive place?
I busted my butt to get back on the court. Like, I thankfully didn't endure a lot of injuries during college. Um, I had like a bone bruise that was kind of bad. I had ankle injuries that was kind of bad, like, a little more than rolling my ankle, but I did the rehab I was supposed to do, and anything the trainer asked me to do, I did it. Like I said, I tore the labrum in my shoulder my senior year, so that was a whole lot different. That was probably one of the biggest injuries that I suffered while I was in college. And my shoulder rolled back in, and I tried to turn around and run back onto the court, and I was like, I'm good, my shoulder back in, and my trainer was like, sit down, you're done, come on, come back to the training room. So that was very, very different for me and a little more scary. But one of my teammates, her shoulders came out all the time, and she would keep it moving. So I was like, her shoulders come out, she keep playing. My shoulder come out, you tell me, So that was a challenge, but it made me stronger, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. Now, you said that the athletes of yesterday are different from the athletes of today. So with your coaching experience, well, we didn't you didn't mention that you now coach in college. We didn't talk about that evolution. So wait, before I even ask that question, let's talk about that evolution. So you went from coaching high school for a few years and then you moved on to college. What prompted that, next step?
So did the 2 years at Hokai, and one of my goals for coaching at Hoke was to get back to the playoffs. The girls had missed the playoffs for a few years. After Coach Oliver Shaw moved on from coaching, there were actually two other coaches that coached in between before I came along. And so during that period, they had a drought with making it to the playoffs. And so we made it to the playoffs every year. Like, we had a run where we won the region, I think, my sophomore year, maybe my freshman or sophomore year. Like, we probably could have gotten to the state championship. But anyhow, that's what I was used to. You say hope, I'm used to playoffs. So I was like, I'm going to get us back to the playoffs. And I was able to achieve that goal 2 years in a row. We went to the playoffs. We exited in the first round both the years. But, I was proud that we at least got there. So after that, I was talking to my head coach from college, and I was like, I think I want to make it to the collegiate ranks. What you think? So I talked to her, and I had two head coaches in college. One through my first 3 years, and then I had another one my senior year. So they were just telling me it's hard work, and I was talking to the AD that I had when I was at Charlotte, and they all pretty much saying the same thing about the work that it requires, but they were positive and they encouraged me. And so during that conversation with one of my head coaches, it led her to tell me about some positions that she was going to have available that I could apply for, and I applied, and I was able to get a position at the University of Miami. I was coordinator of program and player development there for 2 years. And then I landed my job that I have now with Southeast Missouri State as an assistant coach.
Wow. So that was even perfect, because the fact that you still have a relationship with your head coaches, That says a lot to me because I mean, I don't, and it might not just be something that my friends and I talk about, but any of my friends that are athletes, a lot of times I don't hear them talking about them still talking to their coaches from, from college. I mean, is that normal, or or is it just that you just had that type of relationship with them and you continue to stay in touch with them, the whole time?
Yeah, I'm a relationship type of person. Um, Especially if it's a good person. But if I've had dealings with you and like my coaches, my head coach, I knew her since I was like 16. I'm 36 now. And so over that period of teenager to young adult, going from a recruited high school player to her college athlete, you get to know a lot. And going through that transition with somebody like that, it's either going to be good or bad. And it was a good experience. Ties to the majority of my coaches. And I loved the program. So I always came back whenever I could. And I always try to keep up with the program. So that made for having a relationship after it was all said and done, and I had my degree and was across the stage. So, it's just a testament to the type of people that sometimes you'll deal with in this coaching world. So I had great coaches, and I desired to keep a relationship with them past just being their athlete. So, yeah, we still talk.
Now, how was that to go to such a big school like the University of Miami? Is such a great basketball program. How was that to be like your first collegiate coaching job?
Oh, it was neat. Coach Meyer tried to kind of tell me a little bit of the experience would be, and you just have to go through it yourself. But it was cool. It was cool. I loved it. From the planes to flying everywhere. You in town, you out of town, same night. So it was.
That's on a different level. Cause think about it, like a
Yeah.
lot of coaches start out, assistant coach, and they may start out as like a D3 or D2 school, so they don't experience that type of treatment.
Yeah,
First class,
I was
first
blessed.
class treatment.
Yeah, I was blessed to be able to, get land a Power Five position, and that's the advantage of, schools being that big. They have room to kind of grow their programs and grow people. So, they were able to cultivate me to get me to where I am now. So even though it wasn't like an assistant coaching position at Miami, she gave me the opportunity to still work very closely with the program and coaching aspects to be able to prepare me for getting a coaching role. So
Now, what's the difference between, development and actually coaching?
well, you just have limitations as far as things that you allowed to do with the program. When you are in a coordinator position or any position outside of coaching, you're limited to not being able to get on the court and do different things like taking a player through a workout or, it's just different parameters that's set for you that you have to be mindful of and not break rules with.
Now, what made you want to transition into actually um, coaching? Because I know we've had conversations like, I don't know, I'm not sure yet. So what made you think, okay, I'm ready to actually move up to coaching?
I think it was the opportunity. Like when I came back home from Romania, I was just thinking, all right, cool. I'll start doing something. I do my camps and I'll train my children. And I was like, oh, the position's open at Hope. I applied. I got it. Um, Excuse me. From there, um, saying that I wanted to get to the collegiate level. Talking with my coach, she told me she had a position that I could apply for. I applied. I was able to get that position. So I guess it's just been opportunity. Like I've been blessed with opportunity after opportunity, and you know,
Now,
that was it.
when it comes to your current job, how long have you been there, and how has it been like transitioning and being an assistant coach?
Well, I think a coach is a coach. Like regardless of if you're coaching little league to coaching NBA professional. I respect coaches on every level that they're on. So for me, getting there, I really saw it no different than me coaching my high school girls when I was home. Um, it's just a little different because in a high school position, you have to do other things in addition to getting to your coaching. So it's like full course, then you get the dessert. And on the collegiate level, it's like straight dessert, basketball all day. So, that was one of the big differences between the high school level and the collegiate level. But I wouldn't say it was much adjusting. You just have to learn how to manage, and it's a lot of components to the job. Like you have your recruiting, which is a steady thing because you have to have players. You don't have players, your program is not gonna excel. So you have to do great with what you have to be able to recruit in better year by year. So I'll probably say that was one of the biggest things as far as an adjustment to coaching on the collegiate level.
So you've been a player, you've been a coach, so you know what you would like to see in a player. So what are 3 characteristics that in your mind make an athlete great? And what are some of those things that you want in your players when you're looking for a player?
They have to have some type of work ethic. I won't say it has to be great, but if they have a type of work ethic, that means you usually can pull extra out of them. So work ethic. You want to have a player. I would like to have a player that's open, like willing to learn, wants to learn. So someone who's half, I guess the glass is half full with, you still have some room to pour into them. And then after that, I think that a confident person, so hardworking, confident, and then a person willing to learn.
Okay. Now, can you say that like every one of your athletes have that? or are there some things that you see that they have it, but you help them? Because I mean, a lot of athletes, like you said, when it comes to confidence, you may have confidence, but then you may have an injury, and that shatters your confidence. So how do you deal when your athletes sometimes like those characteristics that may have attracted you to them and cause them to be in a position for you to coach them, but then some of that stuff kind of wavers?
Well, I could tell you I'll build a perfect player all day and tell you what I want them to have, but realistically, that happening is very rare. And that's why we have the job, you know? So that's what keeps people in their positions, our flaws and our deficiencies. If we were all perfect people, what shape would the world be in? What would be the use of having support personnel and, people in different positions? So I would say that definitely y'all have the willingness to want to learn and do better. And I think that all athletes have a little bit of that, and if not, it will be hard for them to go from high school, college, and to continue when they go from level to level. Because you have to have that switch. Like, all there in high school, you're not gonna make it in college because no one's gonna be able to coach you. Same thing from college to pro. If you know everything, you're not useful for me. I can't teach you. Um, so yeah, I would say all the athletes at least have that. The rest you groom them.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has to be groomed.
Now, currently, we are in the middle of a pandemic, and there's a lot of uncertainty as far as the season. How are y'all preparing for that, and how are you preparing your athletes for that? Because I know, like a lot of athletes, they were, especially if they're like upperclassmen, they're banking on having a season. Some want to go to the league, and now they don't even know whether they're actually going to be playing. So how are y'all preparing for that? And then how are y'all dealing with potentially it could be a canceled season?
Well, so the last season was actually cut short. So we were able to actually have our conference tournament, which was nice because we won it. So we had an automatic bid for the NCAA tournament. Going into practice, we found out that the NCAA tournament would be canceled, and that kind of started this rabbit hole that we've been going down since March up until now, August. So we've dealt with that adversity. It's been a blessing that we were able to even get to that point in our season because many conferences weren't able to even start or complete their conference tournaments due to the virus starting to outbreak. So I think we've been facing the music ever since then. Like, we understand that this is very serious, and every day it's almost like, what if, what's happening now? What decision are they making? So we I think we're all now just thinking we have to deal with the cards that we're dealt, and just play our hand that way. So if we get a season, we're prepared for it. We're preparing for it, and if we don't, then we see what that looks like. But we're preparing for the best. And if the worst happens, it's not a area that we haven't been in before. Like I said, the season was cut short abruptly in March. So we'll figure out ways to deal with it.
Now, how are y'all preparing your players for? I mean, because there's so much uncertainty. How are y'all handling it with them?
We're dealing with what is. We're staying in the moment. If you get too far ahead of the what ifs and this and that, I feel like you'll lose time. And so everyone across America is battling the same thing, and no one's in no different of a boat. I think we're all in a boat with the same amount of paddles and the same amount of holes, trying to figure out how to maneuver and navigate through this time. But you just handle it as best as you can. And like I said, in the moment, whatever you have, that's what you deal with. So we're going back into school. Our athletes are starting to move back in and get back onto campus, and we'll go from there.
Now, how are you liking this whole NBA bubble that they've created? Because I follow sports, so I've been hearing a lot of people making suggestions because like football, some of the conferences have said no, we're not going to play, and then some have said, okay, we're going to continue to play. I know the NCAA have canceled all championship play, so now it's just like, okay, it's just going to be conference play. So, but a lot of people have been giving these suggestions like, oh, well, can't we put the players in a bubble, similar to the NBA. Is that possible with college sports? What do you think of all that?
Um, well, you definitely have to figure out many ways in case now that things are happening, because we don't know when the end of this will be. So, it's best to, like I said, deal with what you have at the moment. So if that's something you can do, I say, do worst case first, and then if it's best, like if it's the best case, you good. So the best case scenario, we have a hold of this thing and we roll right into the season in November. Worst case, we figure out a way to protect each other, be safe, play, and start in January with some type of system that we know is going to limit the outbreak in the team, or the infection of players and staff and essential staff that has to deal with the team. So I feel like this, whatever way keeps us safe as possible, I'm all for it. As long as it's something safe and doesn't not gonna affect my family, I'm game for it. I love the game of basketball, but with the climate as it is now, I don't want to do anything if it's not safe. That we all have to eat every day. That includes if I need to leave out and go get a meal. I don't want to do it unless it's safe. So, um, that's how it is for me now, especially having a baby all the way around.
Yeah, you got to make sure you're protecting yourself so you can protect her.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so switching gears, this is a podcast to really bring awareness to different athlete story, or different athletes' journeys, um, the athletes from Hoke County. So what does it mean to you to be an athlete from Hoke County?
Um, I take a lot of pride in being from Rayford, Hoke County, because it's a very small place and not many people know it. But we've had very successful people come from here. So, that is like, it's rare. When you find something rare that's priceless, that's how I think about, great things coming from Hope County. Like the new series that's on Netflix, Outer Banks,
Mm-hmm.
and the guys are from Hope County. Like, it's like, oh wow,
Wow.
feels good. Yeah, yeah. So anytime someone goes out and does something and they represent Rayford or Hope County, I feel like it's, a pearl, a diamond. We shining. We could do anything with the best of them, no
Mm-hmm.
matter that we come from a small place. So it means everything to me to be from Rayford. I love being from Rayford. I wouldn't claim anywhere else. I don't care how small Rayford is and how big other places are that surrounding Rayford. I'm from Rayford.
Mm-hmm.
People would say, are you from Charlotte? And I was like, no, that's where I went to school at. I'm from Rayford, overseas, because they don't understand a lot of the differences in like cities and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I think that we can, if you put us all in the jungle, I think we could come out on top.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Now, I think that like because of where we come from, we are often underestimated as well, underestimated period, but particularly like our athletes. What do you think made us different or made our athletes different from other places?
Um. Oh, I think we're tough, and I think from a young age, like we learn to compete and be tough, and I think that that's what helps plateau us to the next level. When you start looking at the athletes who were here, who made it to um, the professional level. Like, I'm pretty sure if you ask all of them, they're gonna say, somebody older before me was telling me this or telling me that, and they were giving me the ropes, and they weren't easy on them. So I'm pretty sure that will be consistent across the board from anybody that you talk to that's an athlete from here, for sure. I'll probably put money on that all of them would say, like, such and such was this or that, like Elgin Blue. Um, if you talk to Terrell McIntyre, you talk to Sean Malloy, um, Eric Maynor, we've all crossed that Elgin Blue path. Mr. Robert Blue, his uncle. Like, we just had tough nosed people as mentors or coaches or um, family members or whatever they were to you that let you know it wasn't gonna be easy and didn't let you off the hook. And I think that's what helped people who did get out of Hope County and survive and do great things. I think that's what helped them thrive and be able to do that.
Now, do you think that there's been a difference in, the grittiness of our athletes as time has gone on? Because like we've said before, like the athlete before us, and now the current athletes were different. So do you think that we still have the reputation of being really gritty and, tough, and that our athletes still carry that same those same type of characteristics?
For sure, I think that is there. Sometimes you have to help bring it out of them. There's many things as far as like technology and electronics that children have now that we didn't have when we were children. And so I don't think that you completely blame them that, they are the way that they are, but the world has evolved, so it's a lot easier for, let's say, a 5-year-old or 6-year-old to get into some of the things that we got into when we were 5 or 6. We didn't have a machine that threw us back the ball or would catch the ball or do different things like that. Like, all of that is created now. So you might not be outside 2 hours getting up just 200 shots. You might be outside 30 minutes because you got a machine that's giving you the ball back.
Right.
So it's not as much manual labor. It's a lot of automatic now. So I think that has kind of made athletes a little bit of how they are now, but I don't think it's completely a bad thing.
It's just
right. It just is what it is. Yeah.
Now, I know that we talked a lot about like players and their challenges. Have you experienced any differences when it comes to, I know, and this is a big topic, mental health. Have you experienced any differences from the way we handle mental health, or mental health was dealt with when we were, during our time back then and now? And how are you handling that with your athletes?
Now I think that it's a bigger deal because whether you're an athlete or you're an average person, mental health has been plastered everywhere now for the world to see. So I think it's become somewhat of a norm to take care of your mental. And I think, when we were younger, I think it was still there, but maybe we didn't know how to address it, or maybe we didn't really know or understand that's what was going on, that, maybe I am having some anxiety because this is too much for me. We may have thought of it more of like, this is a lot, but, I'll feel better if I could just get through,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that maybe we had the I don't know if I want to say the realization or the education about it like it is now. I don't remember athletes advocating for mental health, when I was younger. But now older, I see athletes in the NBA advocating for mental health. So, all those children under me, they'll see that,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before, like I said, I don't remember that. So, yes, it's definitely a case. And like I said, I don't think that it wasn't there years ago. I just think that we didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have an open eye to it and an open ear, and I think that we're more readily able to address it, and face it head on.
Now, have you had any personal experiences like having to deal with mental health in your own athletes, like some pretty heavy stuff? And how have you dealt with it? Like, I mean, what prepares you to deal with, mental health?
Um, no, I haven't. I will say for myself, um, that one of the things that's available to us as working professionals is the chance to have counseling sessions. And although I haven't taken advantage yet, I plan to take advantage of it. I think that mental health is just as important as physical health. So, um, I plan to definitely take advantage of the services and just talk things out. I don't think anything's wrong with me, but I think it's nice to be able to talk to someone who has no type of ties and is not
Absolutely.
going to tell me what I want to hear. To just say, okay, yeah, let's figure out how to help you understand how to balance this or balance that. Um, so yeah, you know,
Absolutely.
I think it's like I said, a great thing to keep in shape, just like you do everything else.
Mm-hmm. Agree. Now, we're closing out. Well, we're getting to the end, but I want you to tell me what is your best sports moment or memory. And
Mm.
you got
Well,
it.
yeah, man.
And you can I think Brandon, he said he gave me three. I was like, oh my God, you're the only one that was trying to give me three. But okay, you get three.
So you telling me I can have three?
Yes, you can have three.
Okay, good. That's perfect. I could try to break it down into every year, well, every level. Professionally, probably winning my first championship overseas, and that was in Finland. So we won our league, we won the cup. So I have pieces of the net and a championship toboggan. So that was pretty cool. Um, this year we won the OVC championship. So we won regular season when I was in college twice. So I have two rings from that, but we never won a championship from the tournament. So that was neat. I'm looking forward to getting that nice bling bling. And it's also special to me because I was expecting during that time. So I can't wait to share that story with Nyla
Hmm.
and show her pictures and videos of her being in my stomach during that time.
Right.
So that's going to be cool. And other than that, my last memory I probably never forget was shooting from the floor at Hoke High when we played against East Hope.
Wait, what you mean shooting from the floor?
So I fell on the floor. I was on my knees, and when you can't get up, all you can do is pass or shoot from your knees if you fall down with the ball or you travel.
Hmm.
So I shot it and made it.
And you made it. I'm sure everybody was like, everybody just probably got up and was like, oh
Yeah.
my God. That is a cool memory. those are some
So
great.
I have many.
Yes.
You say 3?
Look, I have a few in mind, like, a lot, like, I mean, even just kind of tournament, you know, tournament memories from you, high school and college. And we used to go and watch you play and stuff like that. Now, of course, I didn't get to see you, play in overseas, but but yeah, it's just like been really amazing to watch your journey, just because like we're only 3 years apart, and so like literally from little to just seeing you evolve, and it's like you've been like a hometown celebrity, honestly. But the crazy thing was you fell in footsteps behind like our cousins that played. They were three sport players, and so it was kind of like a vibe for us. It was always like we were athletes, whether we played organized, which I never played organized, but I played in the backyard or whatever.
Right.
But it's like cool to see your evolution and as a player, and to actually see you be able to coach, and because I've seen you coach and do your camps, and how much the kids love it and how much they learn seeing them at the beginning. I've even been able to be a part of some of your camps, and just like the amount of value. And I know everybody was really sad when you left, but I think everybody appreciated you when you came back, because it honestly to me was like you giving back to your community. Like you didn't have to come back. Honestly, you didn't have to come back, but I feel like God saw fit for you to come back, make your mark, and get what you needed to get to go to the next level. Because I think that I don't know if something was missing, but whatever it was, I feel like you got it and were able to take it to the collegiate level. So it's really cool to be able to just see like your journey and where you're at. And I can't wait for you to become a head coach. I don't know if that's something you want to do, but I think it's going to happen. I really do think it's going to happen, and I think you'd be an amazing head coach. So I just can't wait to see and especially because you're still so young. You're still so young, and honestly, when I think of the greats, they're older. They're old. They're older people. But you've accomplished so much as a young athlete and as a young coach. So I appreciate you. I thank you. And I have one last question for you. What is one piece of advice that you would give to a young athlete in Hope County today?
Ooh, that's a good question. Number one, take care of your academics. Number two, never stop believing. You can do it, regardless of what critics say. You can do it. You just have to be serious about your craft and continue to work on it. And if you need help, reach out. Like there's many that have gone on to do things that you probably want to do. So reach out and ask questions and educate yourself on where you want to go, and hopefully you'll achieve whatever goal you want to achieve. But I will say set goals, short term things that you could reach, and then long term goals. Like I always had a goal that I was going to be a professional basketball player, and I said that, like I said, in like 7th grade. I remember writing it down, and I became that.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to hone in on what you want to do and decide that you are going to do it and work hard towards it. And yeah, that's it. The best things that could happen for you will happen. I do believe that.
I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And I think it's helpful for people to see, or for even the athletes today to see like the ones that came before them. And honestly, this is part of the reason why I did the podcast, because I want the kids to see, because and as I continue to learn about the greats, they may not know about a Latoya Ray, or a Sean Malloy or whatever, because not all athletes come back home. And a lot of times people miss, unless even when people are inducted in the Hall of Fame, a lot of the kids still don't know who they are. So to be able to learn and, you know, for them to share their stories, but for the kids to really learn from them. So that's really a part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast, not only to showcase your, you know, everyone's journey and give them a chance to like share their story, because everybody's story is different and everybody's journey is so different, but for others to also learn from it. So I thank you. I appreciate you. And where can people find you, or how can people keep in touch with you?
I'm on almost all social media platforms: Facebook as Sakellie Daniels, Twitter as Coach KLD, and Instagram,
As Coach
same
KLD?
handle. Mm-hmm.
Got you. Okay. Well, I just want to make sure everybody go and listen to our other episodes of the podcast. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Next One Up Podcast. And we are out. Thanks, guys.